So like one of the reasons the rules suck, okay? One of the reasons. They said any raid you can do when the server is open. That actually ruins Classic WoW. And that is a take that you will get from a lot of people. Because having non-40-man content open is easy as shit. ZG is a catch-up raid. AQ 10 or 20. I keep saying 10. AQ 20 is a catch-up raid. Which AKA means it's easy as shit. It's free loot. And you know what it also does? AQ or ZG Zul'Gurub 20 man. It gives you the recipes for the Bloodvine sets. You know those sets where like, oh my goodness, the casters now easily get hit cap. It's gigantic. That is a big. That is big. You're excited for dungeons? Well, guess what? You can't fucking do them because apparently you're just not allowed to play more than one of them a day, or like that one once a day. Imagine wanting to do like arms, 2 times. You didn't get the shoulder drop, the head dropped, and somebody else won it, and you want to do it again. You gotta wait till tomorrow. Sorry, dude. Literally, a 24-hour thing is so arbitrary. It is the definition of arbitrary. They picked a random day, and they said, you know what? 24 hours. I'm literally pressing random buttons. Okay, that's what's happening here. I'm not even focusing. I'm trying to fucking speak the truth. I gotta get back on that truth social. I gotta speak the truth. Opponent, you just hate everything, even if they have the rules, you still hate on it. No, I'm saying that these streamers who control the rating are allowed to break what is a classic game by being allowed to just get gear that then undermines the raids themselves. Like, the point of raiding is to do like a raid and then do the next tier and then the next tier and the next tier. But they've now created this tier that's easier that gets you better loot. That's the problem. And like that's one of the problems. Okay, so like, let me explain what happens. Right now in Classic Era, if you want to raid with the hardcore people where it's all controlled by the group, that gets there, and the streamers and the Discord people, it is controlled by the same exact group. They force you to do those 2 raids to get loot. You get to farm Prebis, and then you do Zul'Gurub and AQ 20 to then get loot to then be on the Molten Core roster. And that's just bad. You're doing easier stuff to get better loot to then get to the raid. Nobody will take your red flag ass in their raid just to wipe them. What the fuck is a red flag ass?
Citizens
Rank 1, baby, look at that.
Raise your eyes to the skies and observe.
But yes, I will say it, and I'll say it forever. When you unlock every raid at the start, and there are catch-up raids, you just skip the first raid, essentially. You basically skip it all together. Now, it's free loot once you get loot from the catch-up raid. You go back to get the free loot that's raid loot. Some of it's BIS for the entire expansion. Or most of the expansion, at least. I don't know what to tell you. So it's like, the people that think it's hard die to Kel'Thuzad's red on the ground. That's people who think Molten Core is hard. That is legitimately the comparison. You died because something red and swirly under you came under the ground, and then you died. Let me show you something. Look at the kill times. Like, I don't know what this is. SOM phase 1 and, like, why are these all SOM? Or is it SOM comma phase 1 and phase 2? Yeah, okay, here we go. So this guy, they killed Shazra. All of these are under a minute. They're all under a minute. So the fact that they open up all the phases makes it that much easier. Because then you actually grind up gear to then do the easier raids that might give you really fucking good loot. That's the truth. That's the problem with hashtag no phases. They took out the phases, and everything's going to be wild loose. That's the problem. Think the raids are nothing burger? What about the 24-hour dungeon lockout? Yeah, I already said. That is, it's just like, it ruins people's fun. Right? For the most part, people are like, pretty happy that there's no add-on. For the most part. Obviously, there's a lot of add-on shills that want the add-on across the whole server. But for the most part, people are happy because at the end of the day, the add-on people can play with the add-on on that server. They're just gonna like choose not to, because basically the people at the top are all gonna stay in the classic server. They're gonna be like, you know what? We don't want that. Even though you can literally play on the server with the add-on, they're not gonna do it because like they didn't get all their rules, so they're not gonna do it. So those add-on people are unhappy, but most people are pretty happy. But they threw in some changes. Like, why did they limit the dungeon lockout? Sometimes I just like doing the same dungeon multiple times. It's fun. I'm not like, you've never even seen me do a spell cleave, and who the fuck cares if some people spell cleave to 60? Who gives a fuck? It looks risky as shit, right? Like, you guys would probably tell me not to do it because you'd be like, you suck, you shouldn't do it, right? So there's a definite risk in even doing it. So it takes talent, and it's just letting people have fun doing something. Yeah, like, I don't know why, like, they did it because they want to appease people, probably. Because they want to appease those, oh my goodness! I need someone to tell me I'm good at the game. I got the 60 with a rule set. I'm fucking good. I'm the man. It's like these people. It wasn't even a dream. Like, I would have joined some spell cleaves, but like that Nomer one, you're not catching me at that. Like, I'm not that good. I don't know what the fuck those pulls were. I'm not helping. I'm gonna fuck it up. I'm gonna Frost Nova and mess it up, right? Like, it just ain't happening. But like Scarlet Monastery, like, I don't even know if, I mean, I guess they're probably good, but like, those wouldn't see me, so maybe I could do that. But it's like, there's people in the Discord, and I'll show you. I'll show you, because I think you guys don't believe me when I say there are people that say things. So, like, look, if they were smart, they'd just add a system, an achievement system that says you got to 60 without using auction house or mailbox or trade. These people want achievements because they need people to see their achievements, or they want to come back later in life and say, I got this achievement, I'm proud of it. You guys gotta stop with this, like, I need other people to see this so that I can get validation. It never seems to stop. Because that was your whole argument, right? Of, I want to be validated in knowing that I did something good, but if someone trades, then I don't think they're hardcore enough. You're like gatekeeping validation of doing a challenge. That like, nobody gives a shit about the challenge. Unless you're a streamer, then your viewers do. But like, you're not a streamer, so you shouldn't gatekeep other people's challenges. It just doesn't make sense. If the whole thing is raids are useless and it's all about the journey, then why do you care about how anybody else does the journey if you're doing a solo adventure? It makes no sense. You're just putting other people down and saying they have to do your challenge. You made your own challenge and you're saying other people have to do your challenge. You see this? Would love a weak aura that spits on anyone that used a mailbox. This isn't like buying a boost and skipping part of the game. They're literally just playing the game a little bit differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are not comparable. So, like, for example, if someone chooses to, like, be a single target mage, I'm going to sit here and be like, single target mage is the easiest spec in the game. But I'm not going to tell them they didn't get to 60 doing it. I'm going to say, yeah, that was easy. You're like, maybe you could maybe it would have been easier if you played a hunter. I mean, it's still fucking easy. It's not a challenge to me, but grats to you that you did a challenge that you thought was great. Right? But people don't say what I say. You know what they'll say? You were a single target mage? I don't think you should even be able to play on this server. If you pick single target mage talents, go back to Era. Get out of my hardcore server. That's essentially what's going on here. The problem with achievements in this sense, right? In Wrath, achievements are, I mean, you can't, I mean, you can see, but in Wrath, and how I think it was supposed to kind of work, is achievements all about what did you do and what other things in the game can you do, you know, to say, damn, you know what, I want to go get a tabard. How do I get a tabard? You learn something about the game, you have fun doing it, it's a new experience. You want to become like Beretti, be a companion expert. So you look up how to get these companions. Maybe some are quests, some are rare drops, some are raids, some are dungeons, right? You get to like learn about the game, you get to do it, and it's fun. But having achievements that are just like hardcore related to how you got to hardcore, literally saying, I want there to be one achievement in the game. It's dog shit. The only achievements that Blizzard says are okay, essentially, are what they said in the interviews. They're going to add the Soul of Iron buff that keeps track of every end boss you killed. That's it. That's your achievement. Because guess what? Getting to 60 is an achievement, but we don't need to flex that. Because guess what? That's a personal achievement. Raiding is a group achievement. So we're going to allow group achievements, but we're not going to allow the single player achievements. Why does somebody need an achievement on a hardcore server? If you like the people that want achievements want a solo gameplay experience. What, I mean, other than like Xbox achievements and like Steam achievements, what like multiplayer game has in-game achievements for single player gameplay? They don't, because that's just stupid, right? Unless getting to 60, you don't need an achievement because you're 60. Like it is like you don't need the achievement because you literally show it by existing. That's what I'm saying. Why do you need to have an achievement that says you got to 80? You can see I'm level 80. It doesn't make sense. It seems like you don't look at the hardcore Discord, but people ask about the achievements all the time when they're literally baked into the fucking add-on. It's not going to be any better if it's implemented by Blizzard. You're going to have just people gatekeeping achievements or some dog shit. The thing is, like, I'm looking at it from the perspective of somebody who wants to raid. You are a person who has a billion alts, and the hardcore to you is the leveling. But the problem is they made a server that doesn't just stop at 60. They made a server that you get to 60 and you keep going. That's the problem. If they just made a server that you stop and you go to 60, then like phases I wouldn't care about. I wouldn't care about phasing if you got to 60 and raids didn't exist. But they're creating a raiding scene that is going to literally copy how it's done in Era, which I very much disagree with, because it's literally saying do later phase raids to be able to be invited to the earlier phase raids. That's the problem. Yeah, no, so you might say only 0.5% of people raid, but that's me. So I'm outraged by it because I am that group of person. And I was really hoping that they would make it so that you keep farming MC, and then BWL comes out, and then you do BWL, and then ZG comes out. And like, I'm not saying anything crazy like, oh bro, I don't like phasing because now I can't get the AQ scepter. Like, I'm not saying anything like that, you know. I'm saying like the raids themselves should be kept. I'm taking the point of view of the raider that is the few amount of people. I'm also taking the point of view of a streamer who wants to show people things that they can't see in their own experience, because the average person, or like the minute person, raids. So all the viewers don't raid, essentially. So like, if I'm going to stream something, I want to stream something cool, if you want to even push the button that far, right? So I was like going to be excited to be able to raid with the people, and now I'm just not as excited because they're going to make me do Zul'Gurub first. Because it's a 40-man raid, it's not like I can just be like, hey guys, let's just have fun doing Molten Core. They're not going to do it, right? I like big size raiding, but they've essentially convince the masses that you shouldn't do Molten Core. That is what that's what the Discord has done, and everybody follows like the streamers and the people and the mods in that Discord. They just dick suck them all day, and that's the meta of the hardcore server. That's the problem. I mean, like, they've done Classic in 2019 that was phased. They did SOM that was phased. So it wasn't even in my my mind that they would ever create something not phased. It didn't even pass me because the other two classics were phased. TBC is phased, Wrath is phased, everything is phased. This is the first thing that's not phased, right? So it didn't even come across my mind to like do anything about it. I don't know. It wasn't even a I didn't hear anybody talking about that as like as an issue or anything, you know? So that's why it comes out of nowhere to me, and I'm just pissed off because like I thought I could get away from this like era bullshit. But I guess not. Because everybody wants it to be easier, right? Like, nobody's going to say, let's make it harder. I'm the only guy in existence of the world that does things intentionally hard, right? Like, everything I do is hard. Everybody asks me, well, why do you make your life harder? Well, like, that's just like the point of it. Life isn't supposed to be just an easy cakewalk. I said it was dog shit because one dungeon a day, or like, that dungeon once a day, it's unfun. There are certain levels that I just don't like grinding out, okay? Like, I stopped doing Scarlet Monastery at 40 because I've grinded it too much. Because, like, the late 30s, it's like, it's not super fun to me. Like, I would do STV, I'd do all those quests, and then I wouldn't be 40. And I'm like, you know what, I'll do some Arms Cathedral, back and forths. And, like, it's kind of fun. If my goal is to level quickly, right? It forces me to just play mage. It forces me to play AoE mage. Because I can't, like, dungeon grind with some people. Because my goal is to do it quickly to raid. Because if you don't make it to the raid early, it's just GG. And I'm not going to make it to the raid early because I have a job anyway. I'm not a professional streamer. Yeah, I thought it was a little weird if you're not doing other rules. I didn't know if, like, I should say that as a talking point. Because, the counter to that question is, well, we thought it was disastrous for the game, and it was so obstructive to the hardcore experience that it had to go. Like, they would compare that to, like, a Soulstone or something. Like, that's the counter argument. Which isn't a good counter argument, but that's what people would, like, they would say it is so bad for the hardcore game that it can't be allowed. But the counter to that, obviously, is, well, what if somebody does one dungeon a day and logs off? They still got to 60 playing dungeons. All you do is make it take longer. And, like, there's no rebuttal for that comment. If somebody goes down that train, you could still dungeon grind to 60, it just takes much longer. Yeah. But it's bad because you can do it. Like, you have to either say, like, yes, one dungeon ever, or maybe you can't even do dungeons. Maybe they take dungeons out of the game. Because, like, if you're saying the dungeon quests have to be completable, then you say once. But the problem with once is people are going to fuck over the lockouts. So you can't do that because then you're being too mean to all the players. Because then everyone's going to bitch that somebody took someone else's item. Right? So they don't want that hate. So they just added a random thing to it. And I don't know. It feels bad. Because they only really care about the big streamers and the people watching that stream. Because if the big streamers are happy and the fans think the streamer's happy, then they'll buy like subscriptions and then they'll play the game. And then everybody will be happy. So if the big streamers or whatever want there to be one dungeon a day, then they're going to do that. Because they'd rather do that than not do what the big streamers want. And then the streamers shit on the game. and say the devs suck and that they're not going to play hardcore. Right? It just makes sense, like, to just do whatever is going to make everybody happy. No, I've said from the start that Bubble Hearth should exist. And that's fine. Because the game wasn't made for hardcore. It's just like, I'm fine with Petrification Flask. They just changed the auto Hearth timer. Unless it got changed to an auto Graveyard timer. I don't remember. Maybe if the Hearth is down at this Graveyard, I don't remember. But I'm totally fine with Bubble Hearth. I hate Paladins, but I'm not a, like, I'm a rational person, you know? Like, the class had, like I would have been fine if they kept the Soul Stone and the Ankh. Like, obviously that's like, it's like a very, it's a very egregious thing to leave in the game. But if they left that in the game, I would have been like, whatever, that's fine. Because the game wasn't built for hardcore. If they just slap on, like, you can't die without a resible spell, I wouldn't have really cared. If the raid's about to wipe and the 5 paladins survive, then that's what it is. That's okay with me. If they're gonna mess with Bubble Hearth, though, they should make it so that you can't just auto Hearth out of Valistraz. If they're gonna say you can't just get out, then Valistraz Hearthing shouldn't exist. Is that a crazy take? Isn't that the same exact thing? You shouldn't be able to leave a scenario that you deem bad, but that literally just lets you leave? Like, I'm spitting out decent points, and it just doesn't even matter. Well, again, they hit the one thing because they want to make people happy. Even if it's not like the greatest game, they have to appeal to what will make people happy so that it doesn't like people actually play on the server. If people hate the rules enough, they will not play on the server and they will stay on Era. And all that work that they put into this hardcore server, it just goes away if nobody plays on it. Then it's like a failed idea, and that's bad. Like, no developer ever wants to make something that gets scrapped. That is the worst thing you can do. So you look at the constituents and you say, what do they want? And it's a give and a take. Some things you don't give them. Some things you do give them. Some things you give them things they never thought about. And you just hope that they play it. And that's how that works. I think, again, this is like just the people. A lot of people do care about Bubble Hearth because what did I say yesterday or the day before? Everything is about jealousy. If something has something and you don't have it in anything in life, you get angry. It's like I said, if they would have left Soulstone, for example, if they would have made it so you can only Soulstone yourself, just the way like Ankh, you can only Ankh yourself, I would have been like, I don't care. People can play those classes and they can have a lot of fun, not dying. I don't care. The game wasn't made for hardcore. I don't care. Let them play. They took those out. I'm like, okay, whatever. They took them out. I don't care. That is not my. That is not that's not my girl. I don't even like their takes. Their take on why not to ban Petrification Flask is because their quote is, if you ban Petrification Flask, we will exploit the game and we will do other things that bug out mobs so that we will never die, and we will pull mobs to the beginning of the instance so that we can just leave the instance if we're about to die. Exploit the beginning of the instance thing is totally fine, but if you are making a statement saying if you ban Petrification Flasks that we will exploit the game, exploits used to get you banned from playing the game. How can you just be out there saying, I'm going to do shit that is bannable? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. So, that is not my girl. That is not my girl. Okay, so one of the things that I actually thought was interesting was the first video I watched. I don't remember the guy's name, but it was a video that only had like 1,000 likes because it was not promoted by the hardcore people. I don't remember the guy's name, but he's made a lot of videos before. He's like a known, you know, interviewer guy, I guess you could say. I don't remember his name. And I actually thought it was a very interesting one. It was a Grend, and I don't know her name at all, but it was some lady that I think had been on the Classic team for like a year. And it was very interesting because I thought her moxie was very cool. She was very happy. Like the whole interview, she was just smiling. And I thought that was very interesting. Because they're talking about things that, some of the things I like and some of the things I don't like. But Agrend is always, you know, like smirky happy. You know, he's like, oh, when I go back, I'm going to get flamed. But, you know, like, I like what we're doing, but I'm scared. But this new, like, maybe not new girl. I don't want to say that because she's been working there. She's been working on that team for like a year, I think she said. So she's not new by any means. But I hadn't seen her, but maybe she's been in publications before. I don't know. But she was just like happy the whole time. I thought that was very cool. And then I watched. There was this other interview with the Sarth interview, and it was this one guy who had been on the interviews before. I think he was talking about the Ulduar changes last time with the item levels, I think. And then it was some other lady that I didn't know. And both of them were just happy. And I think that's like a not really like a big shift because I think they've kind of always done that, but in general, they seem to happier just about what the product they're giving to people is. And you could say maybe that's like a blind eye, but I think they think it'll be a success, and I think that it's cool to see people that are happy. You know, like Agrend is, you know, like a little bit on edge. Because he probably does the people-facing stuff that the other people don't do. But, you know, like, he was still pretty happy. So I thought that was pretty nice with the interviews. Because a lot of the people, like, devs, a lot of devs, when they release stuff, they're just like, well, here it is. I hope people like it. And, you know, we put these systems in and all these other things. Or they just, like, hype it beyond belief. Like, for example, the one thing that, like, I'll call him out on, I guess, is, I don't know if it's really a call-out, but one of the things was, in the second interview, the lady was talking up the ghost system. Like, oh my goodness, I can't wait for people to make ghost guilds, and the ghosts are just going to do, essentially, like, their own RP community. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. There's just no way that people actually just sit as a ghost when they could just be playing the game. And, like, whether it's on, like, a different version of WoW, whether it's on retail, whether it's on Era, whether it's Wrath, there's not going to be this giant group of people that sit as ghosts. Unless you're talking about the stream snipers. Maybe they'll do that. They'll just sit as a ghost. But the streamer can't even see them, so why would they do that? Right. This ghost community thing, I don't really see happening. But, and then that's one of the things where I think they were kind of blowing it out of proportion. Like, oh my goodness, this new feature, you're going to love it. Like, obviously, the Makara thing, people are going to like. So it's not really blowing out of proportion, in my perspective. Because people have talked previously about how much they like it. The only thing people have talked about liking with the ghost system is the fact that they can maybe move stuff out of their mailbox, you know, change guild membership around. That's what people have talked about. They haven't actually talked about, oh my goodness, I'm going to be a ghost. I mean, I have seen a few comments where people are like, oh, being a ghost sounds so cool, but that's just a few comments, if that. Maybe like 3. So maybe not even a few, maybe just 3. But across the board, they were just kind of happy about what they were presenting. And I thought that was pretty refreshing. I'll say that. So again, like, I think the interviews were great. I don't really agree with everything and all the changes, but I like that they were happy. Because happiness shows maybe a little bit more commitment than non-commitment, right?